Hey dear, are you ready for a trip in the TARDIS to a new place that isn't Earth, for once? Even though that happened not that long ago?
No.
Curse of Peladon! That's right, we're on Peladon, bitches.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to talk about with this episode. I've always loved this episode, though.
You don't say.
It is great.
It is something.
So, what happens? What happens in the Curse of Peladon, dear?
There's a castle, and we see a vampire-looking dude walking around, and some Roman soldiers going to see their leader. Everyone kind of looks sort of same in the hair. And something about breaking tradition and curses, and the king goes, "Can you stop fucking fighting with your brother? I will turn this car around. Your names are Torvis and Hepish." And something about maybe they're going to join the Galactic Federation, and they're going to meet some delegates, one named Alpha Centauri, who looks like a penis. But then as soon as Torvis leaves to go deal with stuff, he's murdered.
Hang on, I feel like I should mention, relating to the bet that we had last week, upon witnessing Alpha Centauri in all their glory for the first time, Deer burst into laughter. So I win the bet.
It wasn't bursting into laughter, it was just kind of like, sort of thing. So...
Yes, which in podcast terms is, in podcast and also Deer terms, is burst into laughter.
I'll give you that, maybe.
It's more burst into laughter than a sigh.
Yeah, and I did pay up, and I did give you your sub, so, you know. Anyway, so he gets murdered, and then one of the guards sees the thing that murdered him and gets all scared, and I thought it murdered the guard too. He's fine. The spirit of Agador is alive and well, and the curse is here, and also the TARDIS is here. The TARDIS is the curse. Ooh, boy. Wait, why is the TARDIS working? We wonder. And the doctor's like, I got it working again. And this is a test flight, Joe. See? But she's like, I wanted to go on a date with the soldier. And she's like, well, we'll be back in time. So they check the scanners. And the doctor's like, oh, we're probably still at base, actually, because it looks like Earth here. And then the TARDIS almost falls off a cliff. And they get out of the TARDIS, and then it does fall off the cliff. And Joe's like, oh, great, it's going to be smashed to pieces. And the doctor's like, it's indestructible, don't worry. Let's climb this cliff, see where we are. And then, oh my god, a fucking eye caterpillar penis thing named Alpha Centauri walks up and goes, hi, we're here to discuss stuff about the Galactic Federation. Though, because it learns that Torbis died, it wants to cancel the conference. Meanwhile...
Wow.
The doctor and Joe are climbing up.
Cancel culture got amok.
Very much so. The doctor and Joe are still climbing the mountain in the storm, and Joe finds a tunnel, and they're like, let's go in here. Meanwhile, the delegates are informed someone has died. There's also a floating head delegate, but they say, we have a self-defense weapon as well, don't fuck with us, and destroy a vase nearby. For, no reason. That could have been $1 million vase, and they wouldn't have known that. We see a shrine to Alf, that the doctor and Joe pass by, and they're like, hey, look, it's Alf. I remember that TV show. And then we also see that the king is a bastard and had an Earth mother, and everyone doesn't like this. And Hepish really thinks that the curse is what killed his brother, and he's like, hey, Hepish, let me do this Federation stuff, please. And he goes, no, I don't wanna. And the Joe and the doctor continue around the tunnels to avoid the weird growling noises that they hear down here, as well as they pull on this torch that opens a secret door, and we later find out that all torches lead to secret doors, and apparently the Ice Warriors are here. I fucking hate them.
Hey. They were better than they were in the 60s. You can actually understand them, and their voices don't hurt to listen to anymore.
They're still so bad, Gamb. They're so bad.
They're really not.
They're so bad.
You're just whining.
No, I am not just whining. I don't like them. I don't like their design. I don't like the fact that they're like every 2 fucking seconds.
Sounds like whining to me.
Sounds like you're being a stuck-up bitch.
I'm not defending them, I'm just saying you're whining.
I'm saying that you're just being stuck up about them.
I'm not, though.
It sounds like you're defending them, though.
But I'm not.
But it literally sounds like...
is annoying.
Yes.
I mean, it's better in this than it was in previous ones, but it is still kind of annoying, which is why it's good that they don't have that much dialogue, and the dialogue they do have is very pronounceable and is given to one character. And
the leader who can talk better.
The leader who can talk better and has better mobility. Anyway, keep going, because we've got a lot to talk about.
The Ice Warriors are fucking here. And they apparently are also talking to the king, and are also delegates and supposedly peaceful. And then they're like, our curse says a stranger is going to appear in the land and bring problems to the kingdom. And then the doctor shows up, and they're like, hey, look, it's the stranger. And the Ice Warriors assume he is the Earth delegate, and the dude next to the king secretly walks away behind a door covered in cloth. And
not a door.
They're like, hey, doctor, can we see your credentials? And he's like, no, I lost them. It's fine. Let us see the king, please, because Joe is a princess of TARDIS. The Ice Warriors wonder what the fuck Joe is doing here as a princess, though.
Only royalty and men of rank and royalty may set foot in the throne room. So, well, they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah, and the Ice Warriors are like, what the fuck? And then they tell the doctor about the violence that happened, and we also note outside that there's a guard posed to murder by pushing over a statue when everybody walks out, and they're like, let's all go to the conference room, and they head out. And then the king kind of hits on Joe for a bit, and then when they're walking out, the statue is pushed over, and they're like, oh fuck, someone's gonna die. That's the episode, though.
Someone dies?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I warned Dear up front we're going to be talking a lot of, at the time, modern day politics. Did you pick up on why?
I kind of zoned out, honestly. Just talk.
Okay, so 1972. An important thing happened in 1972. Britain joined a little thing called
what?
You know, the European Economic Community, which in turn developed into the European Union. With the Common Market, which gave the country closer links to Europe. By the writer's own admission, it's Doctor Who a version of quote-unquote current event story, which is pretty few and far between because they don't want to risk accidentally, getting in trouble with people. Some people take this to extremes and find parallels to the point of looking at character design and trying to discern who is who based on what character traits and physical
Who's
bits.
The penis?
Which one? So there were a lot of things happening, but that was kind of the main sort of thing happening. But there's also, paired with that at the time, you also have a lot of African and South American countries are signing up for things that their government opponents were not big fans of. Development packages were treated with utmost suspicion. A lot of miracle crops being offered to farmers in what they called, quote, third world, needed repeat prescriptions, and that the seeds were high yield, but the resulting plants were sterile, so you had to go back the next year and buy more, along with fertilizer, etc. Same governments would condemn farmers for growing things like hash and opium, despite, acting kind of bit like pushers themselves. This also led to mining corporations having massive influence on a diplomatic level, nudging treaties that governments were signing with other nations into essentially giving them partial ownership over countries in a way. Factories backed by multinational copper smelters kind of threw Ghana into... Saying turmoil is putting it lightly, but we don't have time to get into that. If you look at the story in that context... Britain is a lot less like King Peladon in the story, and is a lot more like Alpha Centauri, with, offering aid with the allure of peace, but there's strings with it. But talking whilst having the moral high ground, but constantly, saying that, we've left feudalism behind and superstition, we're above that, we're above these primitives. Mm-hmm. And sort of joining the Federation as more of becoming more like us. Not us merging together, more you're becoming like us. US is doing its own thing, which I'll get to in a few sentences. You have the World Bank being set up not that long ago, which, again, the irkings of globalization starting to form, and what comes from that, neo-colonialism, which is spurred on all of this fear, which, again, you can chalk up to different archetypes of the characters in this, but you also have things like, with the sort of the 10th planet, that episode a long time ago, if you can remember, things like that kind of mimicked what the Chilean government was doing, which took a cybernetician to reconfigure the entire economy of their country and social services, essentially, with information theory and neurology, essentially, which they might have actually succeeded had it not been for an American-backed coup, thank you, Richard Nixon, and Henry Kissinger, who is still alive and not been tried by The Hague. Mm-hmm. By The Hague. We don't get anything more on the point until the 80s, but every week in the news there was a story about somewhere in the world that had a mess that was being sorted out with some sort of new technology and, the goodness of humanity. Mm-hmm. But you have 1972 being a pivotal year for European Union. I'm going to call it European Union, even though it was many different things. Britain joining it, because before, the main thing that changed was Charles de Gaulle essentially was gone now, and he was like, fuck the British, they're not allowed in. Also, over the time, Britain had lost a substantial amount of power, economically, militarily, all sorts of different ways. You get things like the Magic Roundabout, which you don't know about, because it's probably not made its way to America. But that was kind of a representation of caricatures of different European nations, in a more literal sense, but also different. But the Curse of Peladon has no real obvious correlation between the aliens and the various countries involved. It's more a vague sort of pro-coming together versus anti-coming together, and it's like, in a situation where you have a sort of person who's stuck in the past and doesn't want to push forward with progress because they see it as moving backwards, actually. You soon come to realize why the Doctor is on the side of the Federation, because it's a side of, hey, we're not going to lose anything by coming together. Like, globalization is good, actually. It is a bit more, the story does lean a little bit more on the Federation side, which, by the way, I've been saying Federation a lot. It's not the Star Trek Federation, but obviously it's derided from that in a certain way. But if you look at the actions of this sort of Federation and the way they sort of act in this, it's like, they're completely different. This Federation actively talks about taunting primitive cultures and interfering in them and threatening them, and it's like, yeah, this ain't your Star Trek. Star Trek would not do that. This is more akin to your European Union. Like, Star Trek is your socialist communist utopia, space utopia. Mm-hmm. The Federation in Doctor Who is more akin to European Union in space, where everyone is an individual and has their own goals, and they're driven by one thing, and they're trying to drive the group towards their own goal. Whereas, like, Star Trek Federation is like, we're all working together for the one goal. Like, Doctor Who Federation is more, I want to join this because I want power, I want trade routes, I want etc, etc, etc. There's a lot. A lot. But, to sort of dry it out a little bit, I'll talk about Alpha Centauri's costume. First of all, before I get to Alpha Centauri's costume, we have to talk about King Peladon's costume. It is absolutely 1970s glam.
Yes.
The man is wearing small booty shorts, thigh-high go-go boots, a what can only be described as an Ibushi torso, with the ring around his head,
a glittering cape.
A glittering cape. It is so 1970s, it hurts in how glam it is. But Alpha Centauri. Okay, so Alpha Centauri's costume. The costume designer designed the costume around a basic wicker frame, made the eye close with caliper brakes used on motorbikes and bicycles. There was a one-way mirror for the operator to see through. The operator's reaction upon seeing Alpha Centauri, so the legend goes, this is hearsay, supposedly was, it looks like a fucking prick.
Yes.
So they added the cape, so it would look less like a penis, and wound up giving them to every alien, mimicking the Doctor's instant acceptance by the delegates. Far more plausible, because they all have capes. He has a cape. He must be a delegate. And now, when the operator saw that, the operator went, now it looks like a prick in a cape. Which I just love. Anyway, what happens in the next episode? Because I've been waffling on for too long about...
I'm glad I wasn't
a very, very brief overview.
I'm very glad that I wasn't the only person that thought it looked like a penis.
Oh, everyone thought it was a penis, but again, there is a monster in 70s Doctor Who that is described as the penis monster, and Alpha Centauri isn't even the penis monster.
Anyway, so the Doctor actually saves the Ice Warriors from dying, and the priest is like, look, he kept you alive! Praise Agdor! And we see the guard in the background kind of walking around again, totally okay, and not sneaking around. And they ask about, like, the ancient writings and when Agdor will be coming, and him coming will be entirely full of evil shit, and everyone wants the conference to be cancelled, and Hepa's just like, hell yeah, and the king goes, you fucking not! I'm the king, can you not? And we see Jo walking away and going back behind the curtain, finding the ledge, and she finds a thing on it. And of course the delegates go, on primitive planets, they hold us captive. You're gonna do that. And he's like, I'm not fucking doing that. Everyone's really nervous, and they adjourn to think about what's going on, and the king wants to talk to Jo again. And is like, sup, girl, do you believe me? Fuck all the old men. And the Doctor, you're really pretty. My mama's from Earth. We should smooch. And Jo thinks that he wants her as a political ally instead, and he's like, no, I want a friend! And we see Hepesh brainwashing / controlling a guard, or just whatever, to go kill people for Agador, and he's praying to a shrine as well, and says the Doctor is the worst one, kill him. The thing Jo found is an electronic key, which was probably of the Ice Warriors. And they're like, hey, they colonized Earth one time. Oh, wow,
really?
I need to preface it. It is very early. I woke up because my cat threw up, and
We're recording right now purely because Dear's cat vomited and woke them up.
Yes, and I was not able to get back to sleep at the time, so I was just like, we should just record. So, yeah. Anyway, they're like, hey, this key is probably the Ice Warriors, and remember when they colonized Earth that one time? We need to dig the TARDIS out and figure everything out. And then there's this weird beeping, and they go look for the noise, and one of the delegates' life support systems is all fucky-wuckied. Joe wants to look
Oopsie
around
whoopsie.
for the life support system. The doctor's like, no, but she leaves anyway. The doctor blames the Ice Warriors for it. Ice Warriors blame the doctor. Joe, meanwhile, looks around and finds it in the Ice Warriors' room and hides behind a curtain to stay secret, and the Ice Warriors, like, instantly find her. Lock her in the room and leave with the support system. However, the delegate who was attacked can't remember who attacked them, and then the doctor goes after Joe. But the guard named Grun takes it all and he's like, follow me. Because he apparently can't talk. And the diplomats are trying to figure out what's up with the princess being here and crap. And the Ice Warrior comes back and says the missing life support was in Joe's hands, so it's their fault. Joe, meanwhile, escapes and walks around a ledge, almost dying, and gets into another window. The guard leads him, the doctor, into a room, and he's like, Joe's here. But Joe actually has been found by Alf, which is pretty bad. But as soon as as the guard hears Alf growling, the guard's like, ah! And runs away. Joe gets caught by the Ice Warriors, and she goes, Alf is down there, and the Warriors want to go fight it, but there's nothing there. And the doctor's running away now from Alf. Joe is led back to the room of the Ice Warriors, and they go back and forth arguing about who killed who. Apparently, no one technically tried to kill the delegate. It only would have put them into a coma, so they weren't actually trying to kill them. It was kind of weird. And then Joe goes, I'm sorry I judged you. And the Ice Warriors are apparently now reject violence except in self-defense.
Joe is just like, I'm sorry, I've never done anything wrong. And the Ice Warriors are just like, it's okay, I believe you and I love you.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. I trust you. I love you. I'd die for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, they're like, well, why do you have this gun? And they're like, well, a gun is an order for peace.
Well, okay. What they basically are saying is like, in order to keep peace, sometimes you have to use force. You have to be willing to fight.
Yeah,
for
I
peace.
know, but literally just the fact that, like, I had a mass shooting, like, 20 minutes from me is a lot.
That's not...
It's
not
a
like
lot.
You fucking
I
pulled
know.
out an AR-15.
I know, but
you
it's...
pulled out a model rocket ship.
I understand that, and I understand the point of view. Because you have to understand that, like, I understand the point... Okay, I don't want to get into gun control on this fucking podcast. But
Well, Doctor Who does.
We'll have that conversation when we get to that episode. How does that sound?
Okay.
But just, like, being in the situation I am now and hearing that is just like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But there's, like, two things that don't really feel that great in this show. Anyway, the Ice Warriors apparently now reject violence. We really need to talk to the doctor and figure stuff out, but the doctor is cornered by Alf, so he uses a torch, and it's good, he's fine. He follows the tunnel, and he finds the room with the Alf shrine, which is kind of cool from the earlier in the episode. And he kind of touches it, and Happin's just like, you fucking sacrilegious motherfucker, kill him! And that's the episode.
Yeah, and then he died. Mm-hmm. So, Alpha Centauri, would you like to know what the directorial, sort of, guidance she was given as to how to voice Alpha Centauri?
Sure.
I'm gonna give you a hint. It is very Britain.
What?
She was told to think of the character as a prissy homosexual civil servant.
Oh, why?
So, which, in retrospect, is like, huh, oh yeah, that's right, this is a British production. Because, you know, homosexuality being illegal and everything.
I don't fucking care. Fucking why? Continue your conversation.
Fun fact, Islir, the the Ice Warrior. I keep trying to say Ice Lord, but he's not an Ice Lord in this. He's not an Ice Lord, he's just an Ice Warrior. The Ice Warrior who speaks a lot in this is the same guy who played the last Ice Warrior who spoke a lot in the Seeds of Doom that we watched. That was like nearly about 5 years prior, thereabouts. Which, you know, that's something. So, okay, well, this is, I have to preface this with, this is kind of a myth, but also there's an air of truth to it, and it's possibly not entirely true, but there are aspects of it that are true. The director, a rather outspoken Australian, was irritated with the restrained British way in which the cast members reacted to the mythical beast entering a royal chamber at one point. He castigated them, insisting that they should be thinking, "Holy fucking cow!" After a break, during which Pertwee had circulated amongst the cast, and as Barry Letts, the producer, had apparently showed a party of, according to some sources, Boy Scouts and/or a vicar around the set, they filmed the scene. An entire cast of characters of aliens shouted, "Holy fucking cow!" in unison as the beast walked through the door. You know, as a joke take to sort of tell the director, like, calm down. Unsurprisingly, this story has been embroidered a lot over the years. Its more plausible account, though, is that it took place during camera rehearsals before lunch, and then Barry Letts took the vicar through the studio, whereupon the director moderated his language for the rest of the day. Which is hard, because, you know, as Australians, we swear a fucking lot.
Yeah.
It's just a part of our language. We have a lot of anger at the British, okay? Even though we we let it out a lot with the Ashes. Supposedly, though, the Doctor Who, one of the Doctor Who Society clubs, was there for one of the sessions, but doesn't remember it, so who knows if it's true or not. It's a fun story, but I like it. I will also mention the writer of the story has been in some hot water just before he wrote this, of adapting a novel for an episode of another bit of TV show, and by adapting, of course, they mean junking everything except the title and chucking in full frontal nudity because nobody watches BBC Two. Which, you know, is not exactly a good thing to do, so it's kind of on thin ice at the moment. But, I mean, this story, they essentially were like, they were trying to kick around ideas. They were like, we have an alien planet, some sort of isolation sort of thing, and Terrence Dicks thought it was dull and samey as other episodes, and was unimpressed with the rather anonymous monster that they had, so they mashed some scripts together that they had, and had the gladiatorial fight. The writer developed a Baskerville-style curse plot, plus the thought that the Ice Warriors hadn't been used in a while. They wanted to use them again, because Barry Letts was like, hey, we want people to know that, like, the Master isn't the only sort of, like, classic monster, like, the Master isn't the only shot in the show's locker. They've got other things as well, like, they've got classic monsters still. The Master isn't, like, it's not just the Doctor and the Master show. But what happens in the next episode, dear?
Apparently, when they go tell the king about what happened, he's like, there's no fucking tunnels, what? And Heppish is like, nah, there's no tunnels. And the Doctor's like, what the fuck? The Daleks go, hey, a royal pardon would look cool, can you do that? And he's like, no, but there's an alternative, trial by combat, woohoo! Time to fight Grun to the death in the pit of death. And then the king realizes how much the Doctor means to Joan, is like, don't hate me and maybe smooch me, and she runs off. Heppish leaves the door to the Doctor's room unlocked and unguarded and goes, look, listen, I don't want you to die, wink, just leave. And the delegates are talking again and thinking about how apparently they think they're having the delegation wanting to be destroyed, basically. Like, they think the king wants to destroy the delegation. Heppish even gives the Doctor an escape route to get rid of him, and Heppish goes, hey, the Federation's gonna strip mine and kill the planet, bro, so we, like, can't do this. And if we don't stand alone, who's going to destroy the Federation? And he's like, wait, what do you mean alone? You have people with you? And then the delegates decide to do absolutely nothing about the Doctor, who is meanwhile working on something with a spinny piece of the glass. I don't know. Ice Warriors go talk to Jo and ask her to talk with them, and she's like really angry. And they're like, well, we voted to stay because the Doctor saved my life, so we want to save the Doctor's life. Also, the delegate who looks like a brain in a jar is listening in on the conversation weirdly. That's strange. Of course, Hepish sends...
a brain in a jar?
Yeah, all the time. Hepish sends a party to find the Doctor and kill him because he escaped. But also Alf is down in the tunnels. So the Doctor spins his little thing and goes to hang out with Alf.
Is he looking for cats to eat?
Yes. He spins his little thing and he goes to hang out with Alf while Jo also winds up going down there. The Ice Warriors can't seem to find the Doctor and think Hepish and the planet need to answer for everything. The Doctor is apparently singing Alf to sleep and then starts to fucking pet him before Jo runs in and chases him off with the torch like a fucking idiot. Ice Warriors ask where the fuck the Doctor and Jo are, and the King is like, listen, they escaped. But then he just shows up and he's like, hey, we talked to Agador and pet him a lot, and he's not holy. He's just down in the tunnels eating trash and cats. And Hepish is still being a little bitch. Jo begs the King again to at least listen to the Doctor, and he doesn't. So he's sent back to his room. And then everybody's brought down to the pits, and it's Last Man Standing. There's a spear fight. Doctor's winning. Grun is winning. Grun is thrown a sword. More fighting. Doctor wins. But then a delegate pulls out a gun, the brain in a jar, and then... Okay, stop. But then one of the delegates, the brain in a jar, pulls out their, like, penis gun. And we see the Ice Warriors gun also go off, and that was the episode.
So, you know the Venusian lullaby that the Doctor sings?
Venusian, yeah.
Yes. It is retooled as brought back from the Daemons. The Daemons! The lullaby that he sings in that. And it is to the tune of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, because, you know, John Pertwee knows a lot of fucking folk songs.
Mm-hmm.
And just little ditties in general. This is also the first Third Doctor story to not feature the Brigadier or any member of UNIT at all, and did not have any scenes on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Colony in Space had the Brigadier inserts at the beginning and end of the episode, so that doesn't count. So this is the very first one. Also, this is the very first... this is the only episode of the original series that has the Ice Warriors that does not consist of 6 episodes. Wow, what a fun fact to include in this list of fun facts that I have.
Oh boy.
I don't know why. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this story is an allegory for the UK's ascension to the common market of the European... what was then to become the European Union, which was a highly topical issue at the time, and this episode doesn't delve much into it, thankfully, because it would have created a lot of contention, to say the least. Apparently, Alpha Centauri was supposed to change colour in order to reflect their mood, which I don't know how they would have pulled that off, but whatever. So another fun fact, King Peladon, played by David Troughton. If you're paying attention, that name may sound familiar, because David Troughton is Patrick Troughton's son. Who's Patrick Troughton? Shame on you. It's the Second Doctor. That's right. King Peladon is the Second Doctor's son. David Troughton has a long history with Doctor Who. He played a confused soldier in the War Games, if you remember, dear. He played a background guard in The Enemy of the World. He played the King of Peladon in this, and he plays a whole heap of audio adventure roles and something else in the future as well. He and Katie Manning, who played Jo, actually started dating during filming. It didn't last long, though. According to Katie Manning, both of them wanted their relationship to go further, but neither of them had the courage to actually say it to the other person. So they kind of just fell apart over time, which another fun fact as well is that David Tratton at the time was sharing a flat with Colin Baker, who eventually became the Sixth Doctor, which... Britain's very small.
Mm-hmm.
Britain's very small. Also, Agador initially was meant to be more ape-like, but the finished costume is more akin to, like, a bear. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, what happens in the final episode, dear?
Hepish leaves while this happens, and the Doctor's like, I told you it was Hepish, and pretty much also, Arcturus, the brain in a jar, delegate, and we find out that Arcturus was shot by the Ice Warriors, which is pretty not good, and he's like, well, listen, he's probably thought that there were a lot of great minerals here that he was gonna mine out, which is why he told Hepish that the delegation was gonna fuck him up. But Hepish is alive, so he's gonna probably still fuck with our shit. He's gonna tell someone, and a huge war's gonna start. Time to kill Hepish. Apparently, instead, let's replace Hepish. But the delegates still don't want to interfere. Meanwhile, the guard is seen putting a rock by the door to open it up to go into the tunnels. And Penis character is going just like, I just want to veto, and even though we're still talking about this, it's fine. The Doctor sees a rock in front of the door, and Joe goes, hey, look, that's weird, you should go in there. I'm gonna go talk to the Penis, bye. And
yay! Oh.
We see the guards coming to get Hepish, and he starts a fucking brawl, even though Hepish has an army behind him, which is kind of weird. And the delegates decide to vote on helping them or not, and even the Penis agrees to it, which is great. But they need to use their communicators. Too bad's Penises was broken. Joe's really worried about them talking to Earth for some weird reason. It's not like she's faking who she is or anything. But also the Ice Warriors communicator was also broken, so Joe's safe and it's fine. The Doctor finds Grun attacked, learns about Hepish and the soldiers. Joe, meanwhile, goes, hey, what the fuck are you talking about? Because she's told that apparently her and the king are engaged, but also not really. And then the delegates have no way to talk to the ships. Penis freaks the fuck out again, going, Penis, trying to figure out what's going on. And
I'm a penis. That's how sex works, right?
Yes. But also, instantly, please refer back to our previous episode where we had a sexual education talk to learn more about the penis. But also instantly cut to the soldiers.
Wait, was that last episode?
No, it was an episode, like, a while back.
I was about to say, that was like 20 episodes ago.
It's fine. Refer back to that episode. I don't know which one it was, but refer back to it. Instantly cut to all the soldiers fighting in front of the king. They take him hostage. Doctor decides to go get Agador and hypnotize him and bring him with him. Hepesh comes into the room with the delegates and he's like, where's the Doctor? I don't know. Okay, come with me to the throne room. Doctor takes Agador by the horns, like, come with us. It's okay, buddy. Delegates all come into the throne room. Hepesh is like, fucking cooperate with us and just leave. We don't want you here. We don't want you to be part of the Federation. We don't want the Federation. Go away. The Doctor comes in and goes, hey, look, it's Agador. And he's like, no, it's not. You're a fucking non-believer. Sacrilege. Burn the witch. And he tries to get Agador to kill the Doctor. And instead, Agador just slaps the fuck out of Hepesh. And he dies. And then the army just kind of gives up now that Hepesh is dead. And the king is like, it's okay. We're just going to strike this from our entire history. Don't worry about it. You're fine. The Doctor and Joe then just leave. Go back to the TARDIS, and it's time to go back to Earth, maybe. Actually, apparently he thinks the TARDIS only worked because the Time Lords probably sent him here to help. And Agador comes out to hang with the Doctor, and he's like, hey, I like you. And he's like, it's okay, I'll walk him home. And then the king comes in to talk to Joe while the Doctor leaves, and he goes, hey, I love you. And Joe's like, I'm not a princess. It's like, I don't give a fuck. And then Joe smooches him finally, and he needs to go to the coronation, so he leaves. Joe is crying and is unsure if she wants to come back to Earth, and the Doctor's like, no, yeah, we should. And then they walk around the corner to go to the coronation, and the real Earth delegate is here, and they're like, who the fuck is the Doctor? What the fuck? We should talk to him. So they run away. And the Doctor and Joe run back into the TARDIS while the delegates come in and they see the TARDIS swoosh away. And that's the episode.
They swoosh away.
Yep.
Is that how they do that?
Yeah.
Swoosh away. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That, as you may have noticed, was a later addition to the script from Terrence Dix. Actually, it was the Time Lords. Because he was like, we have to have a fucking, reason for them. The story is that the Doctor can't leave Earth, so there has to be a reason why he's leaving, and so their kind of go-to whenever he does leave Earth is just, the Time Lord sent him. Print it, sell it. The Curse of Peladon. How do you feel, dear?
Meh. Like a 6, maybe.
Like a 6? That's okay. It's because of Alpha Centauri, isn't it? It's because Alpha Centauri looks like a dick.
No, I was just kind of out of it.
You just didn't want Alpha Centauri to look like a dick.
Maybe.
That's alright. There's probably a few... There's probably a few more monsters that don't look like dicks coming up. For instance, the next episode is the the Sea Devils. Next episode. They don't look like dicks. They don't look like dicks. I promise. I promise?
Yeah.
I promise. It's written by Malcolm Hulke, if that's anything. You tend to actually like his stories.
I'm gonna go.
It's true.
I'm gonna leave.
You tend to like them.
Goodbye, Gamb. I'm gonna go. Have fun with
Sea
your
Devils.
podcast.
Next episode. The Sea Devils. Goodbye.